What's up, everybody? It's David Sommers. It is time for Southeastern Rewind's Tell Me More. I am here with the Tennessee stud Ron Fuller, and he's going to answer 5 questions from the latest Studcast now on Ron's new home on YouTube. The 5 questions on this edition of Tell Me More come from Studcast episode number 12. It's called The King Lives. Remember to find Southeastern Rewind on YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell to get reminders on when the greatest stories in wrestling will be dropped on YouTube. And be sure to tell your friends about Southeastern Rewind. Hey, Stud, you continue to knock it out of the park every week. This thing is really growing. Southeastern Rewind on YouTube. Way to go, dude.
Yeah, it's great, man. I really enjoying it. And I like these shows right here. I enjoy doing these little Tell Me More shows and answering those questions for everybody. And yes, we are continuing to grow. Our subscribers go up every day, and our hours go up of listening time, which is both in the right direction, and very happy with it. And we're coming real soon is going to be the first. We're going to have a 1978 Southeastern actual television show from Knoxville days, the entire program. It'll be one of the first TV shows put up on the site, and then that'll soon be followed by USA, 25 episodes.
That's awesome. It's going to be like sitting on the couch on Saturday afternoon in 1978 watching wrestling all over again.
That's it. Except the good thing about this is if you want to watch 2 shows, you're going to watch them back to back. You're going to see one show that leads in with the storyline into the next show, rather than the way a lot of people now are watching these TV shows, watching the show, and then they go to another TV show and they go, "Wow, this is all different wrestlers."
Yeah, it's
What's this all about?
Yeah, it's like spinning the wheel and you never know what you're going to get. So this way you can follow the storyline as it was written and the way it's meant to be. And back then, of course, you and Rob were writing the stories.
That's it. You know, we were piecing these things together, and if you watch them in the order they were recorded, you get into it very quickly. It doesn't take you a long time because you're going to see each episode's going to tell a little different story, but it's the same characters. A lot of wrestling programs, when they move them around, the wrestlers have all changed, and that's really difficult for fans to be entertained by that and to want to keep up with it. So we're going to make it simple for them, and we're going to give them probably, before it's all over, Dave, maybe as many as 400 television programs.
Holy cow. So you could actually quit your job, stay home, and do this full time. That would be, anybody. Yeah, I think I'm in on that. So, all right, I'm in. I'm out. I'm quitting my job. That's cool. All right, and listen, a quick word, because we got 5 questions ready to go. A quick word about the Funk Brothers. That's one of the things that you can see on your channel right now at Southeastern Rewind.
That's correct, and it's actually in video now. We put it up originally with just audio, and then we were able to find the actual video portion. So now you can go in there and see the only 2 wrestling brothers ever to hold the world championships. And they're talking about, their lives. It's a fascinating interview. There's so much going on in that interview. It's great.
Oh, no
you
doubt.
got Les Thatcher in there doing it as well.
Yeah.
From 27 years ago.
Yeah.
Never before seen.
That's cool.
Really something unusual that for fans.
No doubt. Check it out on Southeastern Rewind on YouTube. All right. So from episode number 12, here comes question number 1, and it comes from Mark Cole. He says, what was a typical day like in your father's life during this time period? It is fascinating to think about all the irons he had in the fire in the late 1950s. He had moved everyone to Memphis. He was starting from scratch to build a promotion, plus raising a family and horses. What was his routine? How many hours a day was he on the go? And Stud, you can tell Mark has really been paying attention because he knows what was going on in these Studcasts.
Yes, he does, and he's a very good fan. In fact, he does podcasts, and I'm about to do his podcast again for him in the
Wow.
next couple of weeks, and people they'll check in. I think they probably enjoy that too. He's a very knowledgeable fan, and what a great question, because gosh, Dad was driving himself crazy, and but he always did. My dad had more energy than anybody I ever knew, man. He never ran down. He was like an energizing buddy, the bunny, right? Just continually on the go. They ask here, what was his routine? Well, his typical routine, I don't ever remember getting up and my dad not being already up, no matter what time of day it was. He got up, I think, at every daybreak. Just as soon as there was light out, he got out of bed. Uh, and then he would go to the barn to check on the horses,
Mm-hmm.
and not just the horses, to check on me and my brother, because we were out there handling the horses, doing the feeding, taking the blankets off of them, and taking them to water, all the things that we had to do before we went to school every day.
Mm-hmm.
But he was right there, kind of overlooking the whole deal. And then after breakfast, he headed off to the wrestling office, and he handled the business. And there was all different kinds of businesses to take care of in the wrestling, especially in the early days when he was just trying to get this promotion off the ground. He was handling bus deals. He was handling taxi cab deals because he had that Wrestling King of Sports on all the tops of the wrestling cabs, of the taxi cabs. He had them on the sides and the backs of the buses, the Wrestling King of Sports. It was on the bus benches. It was just he was ordering posters. He was just a really, really busy guy every day. And then he would come home sometimes for dinner. Sometimes he wouldn't make it home for dinner because he was running towns every night. He had different wrestling matches going on every night. He was not wrestling, but he was the promoter. So he was kind of responsible for going and checking on the towns, making sure that the money was there when it should be, watching the matches, doing all the things that you had to do when you're running the company as well. So if he came home for dinner, he'd go right after dinner. He took off and went to travel somewhere, and usually it's pretty far away. That's the way wrestling was. And so he would probably get home about 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 2, and he's back up at daybreak, 4 hours later, 5 hours later, maybe if he's lucky. So pretty.
It's pretty evident that you don't become successful sitting on the couch. So it doesn't. I mean, it literally doesn't sound like there were any idle moments. I mean, do you remember him sitting around watching TV at night or anything like that?
Yeah, me and Rob and Mom. But he wasn't there.
So
he was doing the deal, man. He was busting his butt. He was out there making sure that we got paid and got fed. We all got fed.
Yeah.
So he was really, no, he never watched much TV. He never had time. He had one day off a week, which was Sunday. He ran wrestling matches 6 days a week. Once I went to Pensacola, once we came down to Southeastern in Pensacola, we ran 7 nights a week. You didn't have any days off.
Well,
worked 7 days a week.
What was Sunday like? I mean, was there anything unusual about Sunday? Did he have a routine for Sunday?
Oh, yeah. Sunday, he would go out a lot of times and we'd ride horses. We had a rodeo arena, and a lot of times he'd build those rodeo arenas himself. When he had any extra spare time, he would go out and dig post holes, and he'd put the fence up, and he put together the arena. So he was busy into that, and he would watch some TV Sunday night. I don't ever remember him being sitting in the house on a Sunday afternoon. And, he was always doing something. He kind of liked to fish every once in a while. On this big house where we're at in this episode, we had a couple hundred acres of land, and he had a big old lake on it that was full of bass, man, big bass. In fact, I caught at 12 years old, I caught a 6-pound bass out of there.
Wow, nice.
So, it was really, really a great fishing place. So he would go down and he'd do a little fishing. we had cows too. So we'd feed the cows. You had
Yeah.
to feed the cows and deal with the cows. If it was wintertime, you had to really go down and maybe sometimes bring them in. It was always something to do on a farm.
Hmm.
And he always found something to do when there wasn't anything to do.
Yeah.
He would find us something to do. He didn't like to have us. He didn't want to catch us on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday afternoon watching TV either.
Right.
If
Yeah.
he came in, you would see him coming. You better go and hide.
Because there
He's
is
gonna
always
find a job for you. He sees you watching TV. You got a job.
Because there's always something to do on the farm. Always.
Oh yeah. It never runs
Yeah.
out of this. The jobs never end there.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
he was gone, and he asked how many days. Mr. Cole here asked how many days was hours and was in the day was he gone basically. And I would estimate that his days were always at least 18 hours.
Wow. I just heard somebody say the other day, okay, a really successful person would say, if you don't have enough time in the day, sleep less. Do you think he was that type?
Yeah, that's right. You're not working hard enough.
Right.
You've got enough time in the day.
Yeah.
You're not doing enough. You got to get up earlier and you got to start and work harder.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he had a great regimen, man, and a great routine. And wow, man, I learned a whole lot from watching him. And he never, like I said, he never ran out of energy. It was amazing. It was great growing up around that environment and having to deal with all that. I really found out, it made it a lot easier to run companies later on.
That's cool. All right. Florence Davis. Question number 2. Did your father ever have Penny Banner booked in Memphis? She was known to both Elvis and wrestling fans as the lady wrestler that he dated for a short time. If so, was this how she and Elvis were introduced?
Oh, boy, Florence, man, that's a great one. Penny Banner, Dave, was one of the most beautiful wrestling ladies I ever saw. And she wasn't just beautiful; she was a tremendous wrestler too. She was very skilled in the ring, tough. I'd say she probably won at least 90% of her matches. Probably, she very rarely lost, and was a beautiful lady. Now, in this episode, I talked about the Elvis bringing his entourage to Ellis Auditorium on Monday nights, and how they would stand back on the stage in the dark where people couldn't see him, wouldn't even know he was there, and watch the matches. And as soon as the bell rung and the event was over, they were the first people out of the building. And, I think I said something about it when I did the episode. I think that's where the old saying came from. Elvis has left the building. Right?
Wow. Okay.
And nobody knew he was there, but I was there as a young boy and watching them, and I would be in that same area back there in the dark on the stage. And I never went over and got involved in what they were doing because, that was a very unique deal, having a guy like that in there watching your matches. So, I stayed out of the way, but I watched them leave, man. And later on, when that became the phrase that, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
Yeah.
I could really relate to that. I saw it happen a whole bunch of times.
I don't recall. I'm sorry. I don't recall you talking about Penny Banner on any of the Studcasts. So
no, I mean, this name comes up. Miss Davis has really done me a favor here, and I forgot all about this Penny Banner and Elvis relationship that became pretty public in Memphis. People knew that he was sometimes seeing this lady wrestler, and in fact, many times, I think they dated for quite a while, and she was a big star back in those days. She was definitely a star wrestler, but she was a beautiful lady, you know, and yes, she did date Elvis, and I remember it, and I'm glad Miss Florence here brought this up because I forgot all about talking about Penny Banner in this, and my father obviously introduced him because you know he was the one responsible for getting Elvis in the back door, and he would go over and talk to Elvis. I wasn't going to go over and talk to Elvis at 12 years old, you know, but my dad had a great relationship with Elvis.
Right.
In fact, he had worked with him in the ring.
Yeah.
We had that ring in the barn, and he worked out with him. He sweated with Elvis on a lot of occasions, you know, and my brother and I watched that. But probably my dad went over there, and knowing Elvis, and she's been a beautiful lady. He's a single guy during this time frame, you know. Geez, you know, why would he not say, hey, you know, I'd like to meet that one right there, that lady wrestler.
Right.
And I can see Dad going and getting Penny Banner after a match, or maybe even before a match, and introducing them. And out of that came a little bit of a dating relationship. She was beautiful. Why not? Huh, Dave?
She probably played hard to get or something.
I doubt Elvis ran into that very much, you know.
Yeah. I don't know if he had I don't know if he had a type, but I know he was attracted to pretty girls, and she was probably pretty trim, fit. I guess.
Yeah, she was very fit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, she was hard as a rock, probably. I mean, those lady wrestlers back in those days were real specimens. I mean, they were badasses. I mean, you had the fabulous Moolah. You didn't want to do anything with Moolah. You had to watch your mouth with Moolah. She's liable to slap you around, man. You know. So there were some of them like Moolah, the world champion, that you know she was tougher than most men.
Yeah. Well,
and knew more wrestling. She'd take you down and put you in a sugar hole, man, and have you screaming.
Right. Yeah, remind you who she is. Yes. Okay. All right. Question number 3, Ben Smith. Question number 3. How soon did the wrestling show go over to WHBQ TV with Lance Russell after your father bought Memphis, and who helped him with the transaction, I guess you would say?
Yeah, great question. And I don't know that we really talked about it, how soon it happened. I mean, we did talk about him getting on that WHBQ, which was a better station than had ever carried wrestling before. And he found Lance Russell, who was, in my opinion, one of the great commentators, right up there with Gordon Soley. He was in Memphis and not seen in a lot of different places like Gordon was, but he was still very, very good at what he did. Dad got him. And I assume, you know, because when we went there, that town was dead. So whatever TV station they were on, they weren't getting any audience, or they'd had bigger crowds. So it was obvious that he needed to change the station. That was the first thing he wanted to do. And he right away, I'm sure, started making the arrangements to get meeting with other TV stations there, get on the best station that he could. And I'm sure he wanted to do it as soon as possible, because when you're losing money as a promoter, everything is based upon timing. You got to get your butt going, man, so that all of a sudden, instead of paying out to have a match, you get money in and a little bit of profit. So I've been through that too. So, and then, you know, he had to find the new TV station. Then he had to find this commentator, who was Lance Russell. I don't know how he found Lance, but I've done a lot of business with Lance, done a lot of interviews with Lance, wrestled on Memphis TV many times, and the city of Memphis hundreds of times. But you know, I don't know how that relationship started between the two of them, but Lance Russell was just like Gordon Soley with the Florida Championship Wrestling. He was the intricate piece that had to be had, and Dad found the right guy. And I think who helped him? Ben Smith here. Ben, great question. You ask who helped Dad get on the Memphis TV, and I know the answer to that one. because my dad had a relationship with a television station in Mobile, Alabama, from 1954 to 1958. The manager of the station was a guy called C.P. Persons, and he was there for many years. He was there, Dave, when I went there and started Southeastern in 1978. He was still at that station in Mobile. And Dad had such tremendous ratings there. He had drawn houses of 40,000 people. So when you draw 40,000 people, there's a lot of people watching. Mobile's population, the entire city was 200,000, and 40,000 of them were in the Ladd Stadium.
Wow.
So your ratings are through the roof. And Dad, he utilized C.P. Persons as the guy to open the door for him in these TV stations. So when he went to Mobile, he called CP. I'm sure CP got on the phone and he called the guy at the Memphis, at WHBQ, and he probably pulled out the rating books and said, here's the numbers.
Right. Yeah.
That's all he had to do.
Yeah. Look at these. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, that 75, 80 share, that type of thing,
Yeah.
It doesn't take a genius as a station manager to figure out, whoa,
yeah,
I need this show.
Yeah. The manager immediately extends his hand and says, come on in.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So that part of it's pretty easy once you get CP Persons. And I have had TV. I used to use CP when I first came down to Southeastern Pensacola and was putting that together. And I have had stations that actually, when you read the numbers, that said, we want you to send a copy of the book. They didn't believe the numbers. They would want to see the book, right? And so CP was a great asset for Dad, and not only helped him there, he helped him when we went to Arizona. He helped him when we went to Atlanta. He would really help Dad establish himself as a great promoter of wrestling all across the country.
All right, good deal. John Lavery has question number 4. He says, what was your dad's pitch to get 90 minutes for his TV show, which is totally unheard of in that era?
Yeah, and that's absolutely true, John. It was unheard of. Nobody tried to get a 90-minute show, I don't believe, other than Dad. He had to have a plan, and I think his plan was that he wanted to be at the end of that cartoon morning when the kids start watching cartoons back in the old days. Started like 6 o'clock in the morning, and then around noon the programming kind of switched over a little bit, to a more adult prone audience. So Dad's deal was that he wanted 90 minutes, and I think he got the 90 minutes because of the ratings. I think those ratings were so good that there's nothing that the station manager is going to get that's going to follow those ratings, right?
Yeah, right.
So when you say to the guy, look, 60 minutes, we got this kind of audience at the end of 60 minutes. And a lot of times it would grow because it's late in the morning. It started at 10:30 and it went till noon. Okay.
Yeah.
So at 10:30 hour, the half hour, you got a smaller rating. At 11, you're up there. More people are getting on TV. They're watching. So those ratings they grew. And so he was probably pretty simple to convince somebody that, look, the ratings have grown by 25% between the first half hour and the second half hour. What if we grow it by 25% more in a third half hour in a 90-minute show?
Yeah.
And you know how it is to have a great lead-in show. That's so extremely important in radio, television, all of that. Is that lead-in show. Imagine you got a television station and you're going to start at 10:30 picking up 60 and 70% share of that audience. You're going to keep that audience all the way into 90 minutes later.
Right.
Wow. I mean, gosh, it's a dream. for a station manager. It's a dream. I'm surprised more people didn't jump on the 90-minute show.
Well, and plus, I mean, he had proved what he could do in 1 hour, so why would they not stay an extra half hour? And your dad and you, of course, eventually had the ability to carry an audience from the first half hour to the second half to the end of the show, and then, into a third half hour, no big deal.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great idea. It made sense, I'm sure, to the station manager once it's presented properly. And wow, it led into everything for the day. In our station in Knoxville, we had that 75 share, that big share of audience at 2:00 in the afternoon. Once we established that big audience after 3:00, when we went off the air, a heck of a lot of those people didn't turn the channel.
Right.
And that's where money came in for the station. They were like, wow, these guys, they're bringing us this audience from nowhere, and then we're going to maintain some of it when they're off.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's the perfect scenario then, because you had the kids waking up to cartoons in the morning up until 10:30, and then wrestling comes on. Wow. Yeah.
In a way, that's a great lead-in for wrestling. Too.
Sure.
Not
the kids
a bad lead-in at all.
The kids,
because those kids are your future audience.
Yeah, and they're going to stay right there. Then mom and dad are going to come in and sit, and the big brother come in and sit down on the couch because now it's on like a chicken bone. All right,
there you go.
Good deal. Okay, and question number 5, first-time caller, long-time listener, me, Dave Sommers, because you and I talked about this a while back, and in this particular studcast, which I was really fascinated by, number 12 was that Elvis was not just in the wrestling ring in the barn and you guys were hanging out on Saturdays. Well, your dad was at least, and teaching Elvis wrestling stuff, but he was also at the dinner table with you guys. Were you and Rob at the same dinner table?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I've sat down to dinner with Elvis on a couple of occasions, and when it didn't happen really a whole bunch of times.
Right.
But it did happen. And I think what we were talking about, and when I brought this up to you, and I think we mentioned this in one of the Tell Me More shows already recently, maybe, where my mom was putting out cards in Memphis.
Yeah.
And she ran into Elvis Presley.
That's what I was leading into, because she probably cooked the meal, and I'm sure she was somewhere nearby if Elvis was at her dinner table.
Oh yeah, man. She was sitting right there at the table with him. Right?
Yeah, right.
And then what I found out, which I didn't even know until just a few years back, that she had a real crush on Elvis, and I found out that she had an Elvis watch. She had an Elvis ring. She had all these things hidden back that she had for. That's since 1959, since 1960. Goodness gracious!
So
just found this out a few years ago.
Yeah,
almost 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
60 years after she had been collecting these things, and after he kissed her hand, I think she was telling everybody that she didn't wash her hands.
Whoa! Wait, so the king kisses your mama's hand?
Oh yeah. My mom was a really pretty lady, and when she came in with the wrestling cards and the dry cleaners, he liked it. She was young and beautiful, and so he said, "Hey, gosh, you're pretty." He stopped and he stopped her, and he said, "Oh, what do you got there?" And she said, "Wrestling posters." Oh, and that clicked his button. He was a wrestling fan, and he was like, "Oh my goodness gracious!" And then on the way out, they had a little short conversation. He got her hand and kissed it, and oh my gosh, man! She came home. She told people that she didn't wash that hand for 2 weeks, man.
Right. Yeah.
She still had Elvis's lips on her hand, man.
So, but how did she have under memorabilia? You said she had a few things. I mean, did you find anything else?
Oh, there were all kinds of different everything that had to do with Elvis, stuff that you never dreamed of.
Yeah,
she had in her little stash, man. And,
Right.
she, she, she had all obviously records by, all the old 45s and all those old timey records, man. She had a necklace. She had an Elvis necklace that had his name on it.
Yeah.
I don't know where she found it, and I don't know how she kept it away from Dad.
Yeah. Did she get him to sign anything?
I don't think she ever did that. No, I don't believe she ever did that. But we did have him for dinner on a couple of occasions, and I can't imagine cooking dinner for Elvis.
Oh, I know. And then see,
for Elvis.
You guys wrestling is show business, so you probably had understood you don't impose on some things. Maybe.
Yeah.
Elvis was looking for a getaway, and that was exactly what you guys were.
Yeah. We were somewhat kind of Dad was in the same type of, not the same business, of course, but both of them were recognizable figures.
Oh, no doubt.
There was a lot in common there between them, and my mom was just really blown away by Elvis, and I think he probably liked her too. If she hadn't been married. He might have dated her.
Yeah. He was nothing but a churning hunk of burning funk. All right, there it is. That is another
hunk of burning love.
Something like that. Another Southeastern Rewinds Tell Me More, where the Tennessee stud Ron Fuller answered 5 questions about Studcast number 12, which is now on Ron's new home on YouTube. Remember to find Southeastern Rewind on YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell to get reminders on when the greatest stories in wrestling will be dropped on YouTube. And make sure you tell your friends about Southeastern Rewind. For Ron Fuller, I'm David Sommers. We'll be back soon with another Tell Me More.